Welcome to Chaotic Harmony. I am your one and only host, Angela Schultz. Life is short. Make the most of each and every single day. Because in a blink of an eye, your life can change drastically. In this episode, I will be sharing with you my adventures in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and why I think we should all live life to the fullest. Tony and I had our children every other weekend, and our custody schedules were on the same rotation. So he would drive up north every other weekend, then come back very late on Sunday or leave super early on Monday morning and go straight to work. The cell phone reception up north was never great at that time. Still is kind of bad. But he would still try to sneak away and call me on Saturday mornings, just to say I love you and check in on me, which I thought was really sweet. His children didn't know about me yet at this time. Tony didn't want to rush things with his children or their mother. His children lived up north. They went to school up north. The only thing that they knew around there was up north. There was no reason in rushing that. Plus, he was waiting for the right time to suggest having the children start coming down by him. It was a very delicate situation and needed to be handled as such. The entire time we were dating, he would never call me while up north unless it was Saturday morning. I could not stress that enough. So when my phone rang during the middle of the day and it was Tony, I knew something had to be wrong. As I answered it, I noticed he sounded really upset. I've never heard him this way. He wanted me to know that he was going on his way to Wausau, and he didn't know how long he would be there, or what was to happen next. All he knew was that his cousin that I met the night we got together was in critical condition, and he wasn't sure what was going on. Tony sounded so distraught. I did not want to poke and prod him at that time with a bunch of questions as he was driving and make it worse on him. I just told him to let me know when he got to the hospital and told him how much I loved him. After he got off the phone, I just wanted to jump through that goddamn phone and hug him. We both literally just saw Jason on Thanksgiving with the whole family. He had 2 little beautiful girls that looked up to him. He was the most bubbly person I knew besides myself. I may have only known Jason for a short 6 months, but damn, this hurt. Jason made me feel like I was family right off the bat. And he could never stop picking on me, and that is what I love about him. I couldn't thank him enough for all of that. After Tony had called me, I felt like every minute was crawling. Like time stopped. I caught myself looking at the phone, waiting for it to ring, checking to see if it was even on, charging it just in case. I had so many questions. I hoped everything was going to be all right. Tony eventually called me to let me know he was back home from the hospital in Wausau, and he was really tired. He seemed so distant, almost as if he was pushing me away. He isn't known for talking about his feelings. He likes to keep things to himself because, well, he'd rather not have everybody up in his business. Which is kind of funny because he's the one that told me to start this podcast. And I'm talking about his business, but he doesn't want anybody in his business. Not to make light of this situation, but it is kind of funny. Anyway, honey, thank you for telling me to do this, but you didn't want anybody in your business, and now I'm telling them all. Anyway, back to what I was saying. I do call Tony my rock for a reason. Well, buddy, you're with me. I will prod until I get something from you. You should know this by now. I wasn't sure he even wanted me showing up at his place after hearing him over the phone. But as soon as my children drove off with their father, I got into my vehicle and I made my way to my boyfriend. The whole drive, I doubted myself. I wanted to be there for him. But that was what I wanted. He didn't seem like he was really up for company. And to be honest, he's never really is up for company. If I would have known that, like that was like an everyday thing, then I wouldn't have hesitated on any of this. But it broke me knowing that he was this hurt and there was nothing I could do about it, especially when he doesn't like to talk about stuff. At this point, I still didn't even know what happened to Jason. I just knew that he was fighting for his life at a hospital in Wausau. When I entered Tony's room and saw him lying in bed, it broke my heart. I understood why he didn't ask me to come over. He didn't want me seeing him like that. He was vulnerable. He was crying. He was sad. He was terrified. He was everything you could feel. I didn't care. I laid next to him. I laid there by him quiet, believe it or not, for a little while. And then he turns to me and starts bearing his soul. Sorry, honey, here's when I tell everybody. I only say sorry to him because he's listening. Anyway, telling me all about his relationship with Jason. They were more like brothers than cousins. They lived next to each other for most of their freaking childhood. He kept saying over and over, and I'm going to try not to cry here, sorry. He didn't know what he would do if Jason died. He had lost so many close ones too early in life, and losing Jason would just kill him. And he truly, I cannot express that enough. It was horrible, horrible night. Not as horrible as Jason's, obviously, but it was horrible seeing Tony in that situation and not knowing what to do. What do I say to that? I didn't know what to say, but I knew how he felt. I lost a cousin that I saw as a brother. My cousin lived with me and my family at the time of his death, and it ruined me. I'm 39 years old now, and that pain of losing my cousin still feels fresh, like it happened yesterday. So I understood what Tony was going through. Tony that night did not need a talker, like I am 99.9% of the time. He needed a listener, believe it or not. And that is all that I did that night, for the most part. Now I found out that Jason, who was an E6 staff sergeant in the Army National Guard, was driving for his unit for training weekend. On his way there, he drove over a patch of black ice and got into a horrible accident and rolled his vehicle. He was then taken to a hospital in Wausau and was put in a medically induced coma for many reasons, but his head injury being the biggest reason. Now, due to his brain swelling, they needed to remove part of his skull. He was in this medically induced coma for about 3 weeks. Jason was just a few weeks away from going to Fort Knox to complete his training for his deployment to Baghdad. This would have been his second deployment overseas, but he never made it that far. This was worse than anyone could have ever imagined. There were many obstacles Jason had to overcome. The good thing for him is that he had that stubbornness in his blood, like Tony, because after he was taken out of that coma, he was ready to face whatever was in his path. He was a fighter. And I'm going to take that back. He is a fighter. He got to the point of in his healing journey where he needed to further his progress, so they sent him to Minneapolis VA Medical Hospital. Center. Not hospital, center. Things were going in the right direction. A true fucking blessing. Tony wanted to visit Jason in Minneapolis and asked me if I would join him. Well, that's a dumb question. I'd go anywhere with Tony, even if this is going to sound bad, but even if it's in the freaking bathroom, I'm following him. And I wanted to see Jason as well. Now, I'm not a huge fan of big cities or highways. That's the only real reason I had, like, my only fear I had going into this. Now, this is kind of funny because here I am bearing everything in our whole story to this podcast, to the whole world, hoping to reach everybody. But yet I don't really like people. Because if you put me in a small room with a bunch of people, I become overly talkative, which I'm doing right now, and making an ass of myself because I want to fit in, but yet I stand out. So it's like I become the loudest, obnoxious person. So yeah, anyway, I hate big cities and I hate highways and I hate people that drive stupid on highways. The biggest highway around me was 2-laned, literally 2-lane. I am country. I am a farmer's daughter. Like, watch out for that tractor that's a mile ahead because it's going really slow. So either speed up, whatever, or watch out for that damn Amish buggy on the side of the road. Kind of country. That is my safe zone. And I don't plan on changing that anytime soon. So as long as I knew Tony was the one driving and he wouldn't leave my side, I was ready for this adventure. I thought. The weather on the way there wasn't the greatest at all. But I live in Wisconsin. I'm used to the weather being crazy. It was snowing/sleeting, which is so fun. But we were pushing along at a good pace and trying to avoid all the dumb, invincible drivers. I don't care about what the weather is. I'm gonna swerve in and out of lanes. Laws don't apply to me. I don't ever need to use my blinkers. A few times I thought I was having a heart attack. Now, did I forget to mention that before we left, Tony installed new headlights to his car? Yeah, he did that. And didn't realize they weren't adjusted right until it started getting dark outside. And then the headlights were facing straight down, making it even harder to see what was ahead of us. So yeah, maybe we were the dumb ones on the road. I don't know. I didn't want to make things worse, so I tried like hell to grab the seatbelt that was on my waist and hold on for dear life, saying to myself, we are almost there. We are almost there. Close your eyes. We're almost there. Once Tony got us safely to Minnesota and we were off that damn highway, I was able to stop white-knuckling that goddamn seatbelt. Let me tell you, not having the headlights working correctly while driving in bad weather, along with ignorant people, made me almost shit myself a few times. And then I hear, I need to find a gas station. We need gas. From Tony. All right, here's where I'm going to pause a second. His version of needing gas is way different than my version. This probably is normal to most men and women, but just hear me out. His version of needing gas is when the gauge needle is between half and a quarter tank mark. My version of needing gas is when the light has been on for many, many, many miles and that needle will not move anymore. Now my version is a bit more risky, I'm sure, but knock on wood, it has never let me down yet. He made it to the gas station and Tony got out of the car to try to pump gas. Nothing is happening. He opens the door to look at me, let me know he was going inside to see what was going on. I responded with, dude, we have enough gas. But he already wasn't a huge fan of the way I handled the gas tank. That's his choice. That's on him. I swear it was seconds. Literally seconds. This man went inside that gas station and came back out looking like he was running. Okay, it was more like a fast-paced walk. I'm just saying, he looked like he was scared to death. He quickly put the gas nozzle back in its place and said, let's get the hell out of here. I wasn't sure what just happened, but his energy was scaring me. He's like, there was a cage thing around the damn cashier and a few sketchy people looking in there. Fuck that. We can't wait. We can wait until the morning for gas. Well, no shit. We could have waited a whole month on my version of getting gas. So anyway, if you would have followed my ways of living, we would have never have stopped there in the first place. And he would have never had to deal with those sketchy people and get scared. I'm sorry that I'm admitting that you are scared, baby. He drove out of that place as fast as he could. Now, Tony is a very laid-back, go with the flow kind of guy. That is a great thing for the most part. And it has caused a lot of problems in our relationship for the most part. But then there's times where it becomes a really bad thing. For me, I need to have a plan. I need to have a little bit of order. I want to at least know where we're going, and if we're going to end up, where we're going to end up at the end of the night. This man doesn't care to do any of that. He says it takes the adventure away if you plan blah, blah, blah. They do say opposites attract, right? Because that's what's going on here. Anyway, here we are in a city we have never been to. Phones at that time didn't have GPS. And we needed to find a place to sleep for the weekend. And Mr. I don't plan anything was driving all over the place with his empty tank looking for a hotel. After having, I don't know, maybe 10 mini panic attacks due to the idea of us possibly sleeping in our damn car, he finally realized we were driving around a hotel the entire fucking time. We were both very exhausted and just wanted to hit the bed and pass out. We made our way into that hotel that he has been driving around and crossed our fingers hoping there was a room available. Now, it looked a bit full, so we might be shit out of luck, but we were going to try anyways. As a receptionist was looking on the computer for any available rooms, the sound of teen girls yelling was everywhere. What the hell is going on here? And then I hear, we have a room. Would you like to take it? Tony immediately says yes. No more driving around in the dark with headlights that are acting up, according to Tony's logic, needing gas or an almost empty tank and not knowing where the hell we were. He's like, we will take it. Then we find out, to our amazing luck, that now we are filled in a hotel filled with fucking cheerleaders. There was a cheerleading competition there. I have nothing against cheerleaders. I just want to point that out. All you little cheerleaders that are listening, or cheerleader mamas, don't come after me. You go and you cheer your little freaking hearts out. I even tried to get my daughter into cheerleading. Anyway, you cheer your little hearts out. But I needed sleep. I wanted sleep. I'm tired. And I needed to visit our cousin Jason the next day. I needed some sleep. Now we had to cross our fingers that we weren't near any of these cheerleading rooms. Getting on that elevator and seeing some cheerleaders in there with us, oh, it's beginning to look like a bad sign. They're all over the place. Angela, you will get some sleep. Angela, you will get some sleep. I keep telling myself that. If no one's talking to me and I'm not talking to someone, I am talking to myself. But at least we had a place to stay. And it wasn't in the damn car. When we stepped out of that elevator onto our hotel floor that night, I cannot stress this enough. It was like walking into Cheech and Chong's activity circle. The entire hallway reeked of marijuana. Literally. There was even a slight cloud in the air. But, did I hear a single cheerleader from that floor? Nope. So I considered that a win. I was even probably going to sleep better because of all the freaking, secondhand whatever. After we got some much needed rest that night, some food in our bellies, and found a gas station that was worthy of Tony's car, we headed to Minneapolis VA Medical Center. Not knowing what to expect when we saw Jason was very overwhelming to us. And I had only known him for 6 months. So honestly, I cannot even imagine what Tony was feeling. Once we signed in, a nurse directed us to Jason's room. Right in front of the door stood Jason. It was incredible. Seeing him, like he was standing. And just a little while ago, he was in a coma. Fighting for his life. He was standing there with a huge smile on his face and a helmet on his head. He was just so excited to see us, and we were just excited to see him. Now, the helmet was there to protect his head and his brain, because at that time, he still didn't have that piece of skull that they took out. He needed to wear that helmet until he got a plate put back in place. Seeing him standing there and smiling, that's all we needed. But I'm not going to lie. That helmet did throw us off a little bit. Sorry, Jason, it did. It threw us off. But he needed it. And if that's what was meant, that's what he needed, then, dude, whatever. We're hanging out with a guy wearing a helmet. And that, I'm game for. Let's bring it on. His room wasn't even like an average hospital room. It was more like an apartment building room. It was amazing to see what care he was getting. His room was his therapy. Jason gave us a little tour of his room, and it was set up to help him relearn how to do everyday tasks. The whole time he was there, he was relearning everything most people take advantage of, or forget how important things are until they are gone. I couldn't stop myself from constantly looking around in awe. I never saw anything like it before, and it was amazing. And also made me realize, wow, I take my life for granted. Jason brought up this great idea of taking him to the Mall of America. That wasn't very far away from the hospital. Well, that sounds great, but he is wearing a helmet for a reason. The slightest bump to his head could kill him. He was missing part of his skull. I wouldn't have gone. It sounded too damn risky to me. But I'm with Go With The Flow Tony. So next thing you know, we're signing paperwork in order for Jason to go with us. And just like that, Jason's life is now in our hands. We were responsible for his safety. We came to visit him in a safe environment, and now we're taking him out of that safe environment and bringing him to a huge mall filled with tons of people that don't want to be around. And yeah, that's a great idea. Said no one ever. No offense, Jason. There was a transit that could take us to the mall from the hospital. Now, I've never been on a transit, so I didn't know what to expect at all. As I was told, it was easy to use, and this all came from Jason. Tony took his word. I questioned the whole situation. I mean, you're telling me a guy in a helmet knows how to use a transit, and we don't, and we're supposed to take his word that it's okay? But I'm stuck with my laid-back man, and that's what we had to do. It didn't take very long for a transit to show up once we were in that waiting area. As that transit door opened, Jason quickly made his way to it, and before we could even get in, the transit door shut very quickly. Oh my God. Jason, who we are responsible for, that we signed out of the freaking hospital, was standing right in front of that door. He lifts his hand to wave goodbye at us, and just like that, our man in a helmet, standing on transit, waving at us, gone. Blink of an eye. Number one, oh my God, he isn't supposed to be alone. His safety is our responsibility. I hope he sits down. I hope he didn't fall when he was on the transit when it was flying past. All of this is not a great idea. Okay, then I have to go to number 2. The bad part of my brain. The sight of Jason standing there inside the transit without us wearing a helmet, waving at us like, bye guys, and seeing the transit fly off as Jason stood there, although it was terrifying. I cannot lie. It was hilarious. After the fact, anyway, I was laughing about it then. Because the whole picture, it was just like, well, sorry guys, bye. And now we don't know what the hell to do. We've never been on a transit. You were supposed to be showing us and you're gone. Another transit came after what felt like forever because, Jason's gone. After what we witnessed with Jason, we knew we had to hurry up and get in that damn transit. Tony made his way to the door first, and I followed. This transit was kind of full, and we didn't know what to do after we got in it because our tourist is gone. Because the guy that was supposedly supposed to show us was already in a different one. What the hell? Tony found a spot for us and took the window seat. He was in front of me, so I get it. But hold up. You are my man. Wouldn't you let me get the window seat so you could protect me? No, but I get it. I will be protecting you, man. I'll protect you. I was in the aisle seat. My left leg was practically touching the guy's leg that was across from me. And Tony was just, laid back, sitting cozy right next to that damn window. I wanted to kick his ass until what I'm going to tell you happened. Then I was like, thank God I'm sitting there. Then the transit announces something about an upcoming stop. It wasn't our stop, but hey, at least I knew they did tell us where we were going. So I had some insight. The transit was still in motion when an older black man wearing a huge cowboy hat started walking to the front of the transit. He bumped into my leg and the man's leg across from me. When he bumped into us, a bag of marijuana either fell out of his pocket or his hands. I'm not quite sure which one. I just know that he dropped a nice sized bag of weed on the floor of the transit in between me and the guy across from me. The older man bent down to grab his bag of goodies and saw me looking at him and at his bag. Remember, I'm a country girl. This is the first time I've seen a grown man in a cowboy hat holding a bag of weed. For all I know, this is normal around here. This man picked that bag up so swiftly and continued to walk to the transit door as if nothing happened. I couldn't take my eyes off of him. I was trying so hard not to look at him, but he was so interesting. And I just saw what happened. Before the transit stops, he yelled out while looking at me, I'm a cowboy. Black cowboy. And just like that, the door opened up and my black cowboy was gone. I sat there trying really hard to not lose my shit. I really did. But once my black cowboy left, I looked over at the guy across from me and we both lost it. I could not stop laughing and it is still the laugh of the day. Oh my God. I haven't seen many cowboys in my life because of, growing up as a country girl. But this was the first cowboy I met that lived in a big city, and I didn't see a damn horse. Maybe he owned a hobby farm? Wink, wink. Oh my God. Anyway, Tony chimes in. That's why I'm in the window seat. After what happened, I'm glad I was in the aisle seat because that was an experience of a lifetime. Definitely one for the books. Obviously, because I am here sharing it with you. To be completely honest, ever since that happened, every once in a while, either Tony and I will randomly say, I'm a cowboy, black cowboy, and then burst out into laughter. It's those silly, random little things in life that make life worth living. For me anyways. Our transit finally made it to the Mall of America and I stopped giggling about the cowboy and started worrying about Jason. The last we knew, he was alone in a transit, standing there, waving at us. Did he even know what he was doing? How are we even going to find him? Thankfully, those worries disappeared fast, because as we walked into the mall, he was just sitting in a chair waiting for us, like laid back Tony would. You could tell they were related. Oh, I couldn't be more happy to see him. Now we just needed to keep him safe and enjoy our time hanging out with him. Jason got up and started walking in front of us, as if he's our tour guide. Tony and I were confused as all hell. How did he know where he was going in this huge mall? I look over at Tony as if we were following Jason, and I quietly said, "It shouldn't be too bad, right? How do you lose a guy wearing a helmet?" I mean, Jason did stick out like a sore thumb. Tony agreed with me. How do you lose a guy wearing a helmet? But this is Mall of America. As we were walking around, Jason was moving around the damn mall like a freaking Energizer bunny. We were having a hard time keeping up with him, and we were fine. I'm not sure how it happened, but I heard Jason say something like, "Hey, check this out." And when I looked, I didn't see what he wanted us to look at. Hell, I couldn't see him. Where the hell did Jason go? There's absolutely no way we lost him. Okay, how the fuck do you lose a guy wearing a helmet? Did I just jinx us by joking around about it? We already lost him in the transit. I got hit in the leg with a black cowboy. Oh, I should say I met him that way. And then we find him and now we lose him again. This is messed up. Tony and I were stressing out and looking for Jason everywhere until we finally heard his voice and followed it. Ugh. Okay, we finally found you for the second time today, and we need to keep you safe. We decided to put him in a more controlled environment so we wouldn't lose him for the third fucking time. We suggested getting something to eat for lunch. Personally, I wanted to leave so that nothing else would happen, but at the same time, we didn't want to cut our visit short either. He was the reason why we were there. After we sat and ate, we made our way back to the hospital. We walked him back to his room, and a nurse came in to see how it went. I thought we were going to get in trouble. I swear I thought we were. We told her Jason was all over the mall as if he knew, everything, and also that he gave us a run for our money. The nurse kind of laughed at us. Then she decides to explain the part where Jason's therapy is going to the mall. It's a way for him to get used to being around people, handling situations, buying items, and keeping track of money, etc. In fact, he would even drive a car to the mall with a physical therapist. All of this would have been great to know before we left with him to the mall, because then maybe it would have, caused less stress. Maybe we would understand that, hey, he knows where he's going. Thanks for telling us, lady. Oh my goodness. We stayed at that hospital for a little while and let Jason know we loved him, and we were so happy to see him starting to thrive. His journey wasn't going to be easy, both physically and mentally. But at the end of the day, he was alive. And that's all that mattered. Once we felt like he was settled into his room and everything, we decided to leave. So we said our goodbyes and left. After seeing him and how well he was healing, leaving wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. He looked good. Tony and I got back to the hotel without any problems, surprisingly. We were both tired and just wanted to lay down. We went to open our hotel room door, and then all of a sudden we're trying. That damn door was locked. How did we get locked out of our hotel room? Now, I didn't want to go back down to the front desk. My legs hurt. I was tired. So I called instead, and the receptionist on the other end of the call said she would send someone to help us. We ended up sitting down on the floor waiting because it took for a while. The whole freaking hallway still smelled like marijuana, and you could still see the slight cloud in the air. Tony ended up sitting down next to me, and after some time went by, as we were sitting there waiting for the hotel to save us, I started to feel like I was getting a little high just off the goddamn fumes in the air. Well, we ended up getting rescued, and we hit the bed and passed out. The whole day was exhausting, both physically and mentally for us as well. And we missed home. This big city thing wasn't for us at all. See, I grew up on a farm with land everywhere. I had to hang clothes on the line. We got to ride a four-wheeler on trails that we personally made. We would play in the haymound and jump off the rope my grandpa had there. These tall buildings, people everywhere, caged up gas stations were not for me. And never will be. Right away in the morning, we left for Minnesota and headed back to our area. The smell of cow manure area, that is what we needed. Once we hit that, we knew we were home. Tony and I decided to head back to my place. The drive back wasn't as bad as it was on the way there. It didn't seem to take much time to get back to my apartment. Maybe because it wasn't, bad weather and it was light out, so we didn't have to worry about the lights in his car. But either way, it wasn't bad. Tony helped me bring my luggage inside, and we dropped it right on the living room floor and went right to my bed. After a much-needed nap, we had some sexy time. After sex was over, my stomach started to cramp up. Bad. Now, I had my gallbladder removed in 2005, so certain foods bother me really bad. That whole weekend, we ate things that I really shouldn't have. I was forcing myself to just because it tasted so good, but I shouldn't have. My stomach hurt so bad right now that I knew I had to fart. It was right there. It was ready to be released. I grew up watching my mother leave any room my father was in whenever she had to fart. She would quickly freaking leave and just let it rip. Wait for a bit, then go back as if nothing happened. Us kids laughed our asses off about it. She never farted in front of my father, and I'm not sure to this day if she ever will, or if she ever did. I didn't want to gross Tony out, become unattractive, or get embarrassed. Even though I embarrassed myself, I don't want to embarrass myself like that. I couldn't hold this gas in any longer, though. So I pretended I needed to get something from my luggage that was in the living room. I thought that if I left that room and let it out, I'd be in the safe zone. Right? As I left that room and started to walk down my hallway, the long hallway that has an amazing echo to it, I lost control of what happened next. My ass started blasting the loudest fart ever. To make matters worse, I started to embarrassingly laugh because, oh my God, how did he not hear that? Which only changed the tune of this ridiculously loud laugh. It is now it's a I heard Tony say, I heard that. As much as I tried to act like nothing happened, I could not stop laughing. It was truly that bad. Without trying, our weekend adventure ended with a blast. Oh, man. All right. Well, guys, honestly, while preparing this episode, I realized just how far Jason has come since his accident. Because honestly, he's doing good. He's doing great. And how lucky we are to still have him in our lives. He took his service to this country seriously then, and to this day, he still does. Jason is one of my inspirations in life, which is why I wanted to share a little bit of his story. He was literally on his deathbed at one point, and now he does whatever he can for his fellow veterans. The Wounded Warrior Project is one of his ways of giving back. The Wounded Warrior Project honors and empowers wounded warriors who incurred a physical or mental injury, illnesses, or coincident to military service. Jason took something dark that happened to him and turned it into a positive. Jason, if you are listening, thank you for your service and everything that you do now. If it wasn't for you, I would have never met Tony. And also, I love you. You are an amazing person, and don't let anybody tell you different. Even when you're wearing a helmet. So I had to add that in. To everyone else out there that has served or is still serving, thank you from the bottom of my heart. If anyone wants to help out with the Wounded Warrior Project, please visit their website for more information. Our veterans need us. Thank you for your time today. I absolutely love doing this, and my husband has been happy about this too. I guess it's because his ears aren't hurting as much since I started talking on here. Now, go out there, embrace the weird, and make normal feel boring, ladies and gentlemen. Bye.